Folk who are intentionally misleading and deceitful are jerks. And yes, this includes money-grubbing subscriber whores like Howtheworldworks. Merely hours after I had put up my first response, in which I showed a clip of Howtheworldworks freestyling and not reading off a prompter, he sent me a mail basically confirming he'd seen the video. Smelling a rat, I went to check his channel, and what would you know, that video had been deleted. Gosh, how the world works. It's kind of like you don't want people to see this.
I just read that people are making $100,000 a year on YouTube. I want to see if this is true. I know I can offer a lot to the YouTube viewers. I can bring a lot of insight to a lot of the news articles that you're seeing in the news that you won't hear from anybody else. Click over here in the sidebar and subscribe immediately.
Of course, there is a natural and harmonious irony to someone professing insight that you won't get anywhere else with a namesake like How the World Works, with a title with the world spinning backwards. But his specious, the dog ate my homework type excuse of the backwards spinning world simply drips with category 5 grade moron juice.
Let me address the globe that's spinning backwards in my video. A couple months ago, I wanted to find a copyright-free video that was free. So I went around the internet and I found a couple videos of an Earth. I then put the videos together and made my intro. It was great, it was free, I didn't have to spend a lot of money for licensing and other things like that. Immediately after I put it up, someone told me, "Do you realize the Earth's spinning backwards?" I looked at it and felt embarrassed immediately. But then I realized this is YouTube, and unless someone wants to buy me an intro that's copyright free, go ahead, but that video's staying up for now, because who the heck cares? Now to the real issues. So in this video, I'm going to address the...
You really have to facepalm at this stupidity. Wow, how many seconds does this take to correct? That was hard, wasn't it? You want me to do it again? Yeah, that's really, really, really challenging, isn't it? Now remind me again of your qualifications.
I graduated from one of the top universities in the United States. I also have a postgraduate degree. When I was an undergrad, I studied biology and I understood it just as much as you. In fact, I have linked over in the sidebar an article on why evolution matters. I wrote it. You are not in the same league as me with history, economics, law, or politics, period.
And with all that impressive resume, you didn't have the latent ability to think of playing the footage backwards. Yes, you display many of the characteristics of creationists, such as quote mining, the activity of taking partial or out-of-context quotes to misrepresent or mischaracterize a group. It's a typical deceitful ploy frequently used by creationists, but evidently not limited to them. The quote mining is accompanied with what psychologists would call attempting to create a yes set, but for the thoughtful. 10 or so quotes over 30 or so years does absolutely nothing to discredit the thousands of peer-reviewed academic papers written on climate change. It should be realized that despite the vitriolic tone in which some of these quotes are read, many of them are little more than a statement of the obvious. I mean, what is actually factually incorrect about this statement?
Phasing out the human race will solve every problem on Earth, social and environmental. David Grayer, biologist, National Park Service. If I told you their quotes were from Nazis, you might agree with me.
Ah, using environmentalists and Nazis in the same sentence. Sorry, but did anyone say Godwin's Law?
Let me read you a last quote.
The quote reads, "Sweat saves blood, blood saves lives, and brain saves both. Erwin Rommel, Nazi." Although I say this in Rommel's defence, while all Nazis on paper, the roots of the professional German army predated the domination of the Nazi Party. Rommel was, by almost all accounts, a compassionate military commander who went to some lengths not to get his men killed needlessly. He was also an extremely competent military man. This point should be evident from the fact that the first time the Americans and the Germans met at Kasserine, Rommel inflicted one of the worst routs on the US Army of the entire war. The German army was very good, and if it had been the White House a couple of hundred miles behind the American lines instead of, say, for instance, Paris, as it had been a couple of years earlier, the Americans would have just been as shit out of luck as the French and the British. And, yeah, Rommel was a key part in the drubbing of France as well. The sad conclusion is that Rommel was later suspected by Hitler of being involved in the assassination attempt. Hitler then offered the ultimatum to Rommel of commit suicide and gain protection for his family and his staff and be buried with full state honours, or be arrested and executed for high treason. Rommel explained his decision to his wife and son and killed himself. So, yes, the concept is valid no matter where it originates, and it really doesn't matter if they were Nazis or not.
The fact is that no other chemical in mankind's history has saved more lives.
Oh dear, again with these categorical statements with absolute surety. And that would be great if it weren't for the fact that you were full of shit. Chemicals that have saved lives, well, of course the most obvious example would be water, or getting it pure enough not to kill people. A close second would be ammonia, which is produced by the Haber process, another German who got screwed over by the Nazis. On paper, the Haber process is responsible for the food supply of about 40% of the people on the planet. That's about 2 billion people before you even start looking at the small numbers. Bleach and other sterilizing agents such as IPA would also be strong contenders.
States of America.
Do you know that correlative studies are completely misleading? Now, with
Really? You should tell that to those who conduct double-blind clinical trials for pharmaceuticals. Further, you are completely happy to use completely misleading studies yourself. This is what I mean about intentionally sowing disinformation. It's antisocial and contemptible, especially when it's done by a money-grubbing, trolling subscriber whore whose primary goal seems to be profiting off such antisocial behavior.
when those prison guards go into that prison, I want to ensure that they're going home to their families at night. And I will gladly kill every murderer to make sure that happens. I care about the innocent lives of the prison guards. I care about non-violent prisoners.
Ah, the appeal to emotion. But why not do the logical thing if you're so keen to absolutely guarantee that the prison guards will go safely home to their families at night? Why not kill all the prisoners? After all, why do you want to gamble with their lives when you know with absolute surety that there are 15,000 murders each year in America and that 99% of them are first-time offenders? Why do you want to take the risk such that the prison guards might not go safely home to their families at night? Then we will see who cares about the innocent.
Now, murderers do have a high recidivism rate. If only 1% of murderers who are let out of jail commit a second offense killing another person, that's thousands of people that end up dying.
Actually, like I said, there's only about 15,000 murders in the US per year, 1% of which would be about 150. Thousands seems to be an intentionally misleading number. But for the record, and to put this all into perspective, 40,000 die each year in America in car crashes on the roads alone. No god since the time of the Aztecs has demanded human sacrifice on such a scale. And it's difficult to reconcile your willingness to have the ineffective pork barrel spending government that's full of charlatans and leftists decide if people live or die, but you're unhappy to have that same government decide on environmental issues.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about if you accidentally kill somebody because of our imperfect judicial system? Well, I have two responses for you. First, I would gladly stack on one side of my hand the number of actual names of people who are 100% proven to have been executed in the United States and they were innocent. And then on the other hand, I will take all the people in America and their names that were killed by murderers, this being their second offense, and we'll see who cares about the innocent.
It is an interesting insight into the psyche of how the world works that he elects to compare the number of innocent people that he wants society to kill and balances this with the number of people that a murderer may kill. Personally, I feel rather uncomfortable when someone judges the morality of their society against the standard of a murderer. For me, innocent people who society kills, we are directly 100% responsible for. We are the ones who do the killing. For those who a murderer kills, we are not.
Want to know what? Even though I don't agree with the religion of evangelical Christians, if I had a choice of who to govern me, them or you, I would choose them in a heartbeat. You want to know why? Because they have a fundamental belief that my rights to life, liberty, and property do not come from them, do not come from the collective. That's all that matters.
Fascinating. You reject a statement that is true by definition. After all, without society there are no rights, and those rights are decided by the collective. And then you go on to state that you would rather simply unplug from reality and side with fundamentalists simply because they do not conform with what is factually observed.
Belief that my rights to life, liberty, and property do not come from them, do not come from the collective. That's all that matters. You are not in the same league as me with history, economics, law, or politics.